Hello, 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 my beautiful tribe. What's going on? Lisa Lajwa here. Welcome to From Misfit to Mystic, my podcast where we have sacred conversations about ascension, mastery, wealth, health, anything that has to do with our brilliant wholeness in this world. Guess what? Today's Father's Day. I moved the episode this week a little bit around to be able to do this experience on this wonderful day to all the fathers. All you fathers who have everything to do with your children's ascension. Fathers are really extraordinary, aren't they? I really love hearing stories around fathers, how they are, the differences between them from one family to another. I love knowing and hearing the beautiful stories around support and love and how a father can make his young children and his children feel the most extraordinary. It really is an incredible power as a father that they have to support their children to become, truly become the true self that they're meant to be. It's interesting because I thought, what am I going to do this week on the show? And I decided that, a couple of things I decided recently, which I think are pretty interesting. And a lot of stuff has been coming up around my father because of the planetary alignments and stuff I've been talking about recently. If you follow me, I've been talking about all the energy work and opportunities that are out there right now and how the planets are pushing us and propelling us. And, just sometimes, there's opportunities in life that we get to grow and create and make changes from the inside out, which influence our outside in. And, it's one of these times where it's dig in deep and dive in the deep waters of the subconscious reality right now. And even the subconscious reality of our lineage. And so this has been coming up, especially with Father's Day. I find it interesting how sometimes the alignment of the energy shifts that are coming forward happen during, holiday days, holiday seasons, or days like Father's Day, which I'm so in alignment right now because a lot of things with my father have been coming up and moving through. And I'll explain what I mean. So when I was really young, I've always been a clairvoyant. I was always able to see things. I've always been a direct channel to all kinds of beings and the universe, etc. I've always been pretty mystical, and nobody really understood what was going on with me, and of course neither did I. I was a little kid, and as I went through all the different phases of my life, and the thing that I heard mostly from my father, because he was a real traditional Lebanese guy, he used to say to me all the time, because he really didn't believe in women being powerful at all. And he was a chauvinist. And kind of proud of it, honestly. He really had that old school mentality, like women, we don't have power. And we have a place, but men should tell us where our place is, which drove me fucking crazy, I'll be honest with you. And I always felt that was wrong. I felt that was wrong at a very young age. I felt it was wrong when I used to sit in church and listen to the preacher talk about Jesus and make Jesus into a man instead of the incredible, loving, powerful being that he was. And how people will represent, spiritual leaders in a way that's their perception versus, maybe someone else's perception who sees this master in a different way, this masterful being. And I used to sit there and look and be like, oh my God, wow. Because the Lebanese culture, the community that I lived in, and I have nothing against them because, I grew up with them. But when I was very, very young, I always had this psychic intuition that what they were saying to me, including my father, wasn't right. And that we as women had a wonderful place of being. But because I was raised in that environment, like many of you, you all of a sudden learn that maybe you're not worthy, maybe you're not okay, maybe, as a woman, you should be in another container in life, you should be in a room locked in. And I rebelled and balked against that every step of the way, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that that never felt right to me, and that I resisted it and fought it every step of the way, to the point where I would be in church, and I would have these psychic premonitions, like literally downloads, while I was sitting right in the church at 6, 7, 8 years old, when a priest was talking. Father Joe was his name, and I would have outbursts in the middle of the church, because we would be in Sunday school, and I would be constantly asking questions like, why is that? That's not true. That's not what happened. Why are you saying that about Jesus? That's not what happened, because I was able to communicate directly with the history of what happened. And I didn't know that I was doing it at the time. I was a little kid. Now that I'm older and I understand what happened to me at that time, I could see what was going on. And I knew that it wasn't truth. And there was things that weren't motivated to support everybody as a united beings, that we all matter. And I just always knew something was wrong with saying we all don't matter. Like some of us matter more than others. This drives me nuts. And it's also been the thing I was probably healing my entire life, because I was really neglected emotionally and physically. And I grew up in some intense violence and all kinds of really weird situations, which is not the reason for this show today, but important for you to know. And always felt, no, and a lot of you feel like that. A lot of people are deeply, powerfully intuitive, and you just know when somebody's not telling you what's right for you. And when these, we look at the world events and we're like, no, this isn't right. What you're doing isn't right. Like, why are you containing us as a race? Why are you putting people in a box, wherever they come from? We're different, and we may not like each other. We may not feel aligned with what somebody's doing or not doing, but we don't belong in a box. And let me tell you, especially one that somebody else created for us. I believe in oneness. I really do. I don't expect all our experiences as human beings to be intertwined and intertangled. We all have different things to do. But I really believe everybody has a right to be here and be happy. And we all come from the same place. We all come from Mother Earth in the flesh, and we come from Father Sky, the universe, whatever you want to call it. We're star beings, we all are the same. So it drives me really batty, always has. I don't have a racist bone in my body. I either just don't like an energy, or I just don't like something, And I was never like that. And my father was interesting, how bit of a bigot, bit of like, he used to say things to me. I'd be like, Dad, stop it. Like he was, he had that racial, gross, slur that he would say things that I found were unbelievable. But he was the same with women. And as a young daughter, I knew my father loved me. I could tell. I was the apple of his eye for a long time, because I was a little girl and I was innocent until he realized that I had fierce energy and fierce power, and I was a star being, and he didn't know what the hell to do with me, because I was resisting the mold and wanting to break out from tradition. Nothing of it felt right to me. And I started breaking out of it at a very young age, just not feeling like what you're trying to tell me about being a female is wrong. And my mother too. My mother was, both my parents are passed away. My mother was also like that. She, she believed a woman should have a nice man and get married and all that. She didn't instill that or force it on me in any way. As a matter of fact, she, was more supportive of my independent, fierce energy that I had. But it's really hard, and this is the topic I want to talk about. It's really hard when you're a young girl and you have a fierce energy that nobody's supporting. And part of the reason I wanted to have this show today and talk about fathers and Father's Day there's a few reasons. One of them is to help other people who may be listening, and any fathers out there, to understand the importance of your role in a young daughter's ascension. in particular, you know, because I'm a woman and I could speak from my experience, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And of course, if you have a son, it's the same thing. If you have, you know, of course, any of your children, it's really important. But in particular, daughters, because my father taught me that who I was wasn't okay. Who I was wasn't okay without a man. He taught me I couldn't take care of myself. I would never get anywhere if I didn't get married. And I didn't find a man who could take care of me. And, you know, the truth is, my father didn't take care of me. And that was the example he left with me. My father actually neglected me. He, you know, let me do things that were completely insane. He did some good things too, don't get me wrong. But I was like a full-blown alcoholic partying in my house. And my father had no rules and boundaries. He just didn't want to deal with it. He just didn't understand what happened. He didn't take one initiative to try to help his daughter, who he was watching, behaving in a way that was completely self-destructive. You know what he did? My father moved out and left me there. Very young age, you know. I mean, I'm blessed because I understand at one point my soul saved me, because the light inside me said, enough of this. You're not going to have anything if you don't face the way you're building your life and how you're destroying it. And I feel really blessed. Part of this inspiration too is that yesterday I went to see Rocket Man, the Elton John movie, and wow, did it ever bring back memories. Crazy memories, really unbelievable memories about what I went through, and I lived that life that is shown in the movie. You know what I mean? Of course, I wasn't in as huge of an environment, but I lived the same thing: the party life, the rock band. You know, I was like in that life. That was my life, and I couldn't get out. And I went through what he went through. I mean, that started taking my life away, and it's crazy because I was listening to him. Like, he's 28 years sober now, and I'm like 32 years sober. So I'm so like, it just touched my heart so much that he, you know, that he did that and I did that at the same time. And I started having these like downloads about, you know, I got sober at the same time as some legends, like, you know, some of my rock star heroes, like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Elton John and couple of other ones. And it made me think of all these things, that how when you don't know that you're so important and that you matter, you know, and in Elton John in the movie, if you see it, you'll see he went through the same thing. There's just this neglect that comes from his father that broke him and broke his heart and made him feel like a piece of shit, you know. And I went through that too. You know, my father, I made myself believe in the positivity of what my father brought into my life. And I just decided, as I grew spiritually in my own ascension, that I would honor the good, you know. But did I ever have to heal the bad, you know, the negative, whatever you want to call it, you know. These are words that just describe being neglected and not being treated in a way that, you know, I could rise in my life with support behind me. I don't know what it would have changed for sure, because you never know what a person can put themselves through, even in a great upbringing. But I certainly know how it made me feel to feel that from other men in my life who came into my life after, when I started cleaning up my life, and they helped me heal. And it's interesting because they're significant men, and it was the men who helped me heal from their love and embrace. When I got sober and I started to heal my life, there was, you know, 3 significant men who actually, even more than that actually, who helped me turn my life around, you know. Of course, don't get me wrong, women, a lot of women in my life as well. I'm talking about the men because of the Father's Day experience that I wanted to share about today, and how that they became the voice of what my father had never been. My father never once said, "Good job, Lisa. I built a business." I didn't listen to him. I've traveled the world. I studied my gift of spiritual teacher, of urban guru, of mastery, of ascension, of being, you know, this intuitive coach for the last 15 or 20 years. I don't even know how long I've been doing that. Doing readings that have been transformative on people's lives. And not once did he say, hey, that's a great idea, good job. Anything I ever told my father, he said, no, that's not a bad idea. Always back to just get a guy, just get a husband, because you can't take care of yourself. It's mind-blowing how one person can decimate your confidence because you want them so badly, because it's written in your DNA to want that person to love you, embrace you, and honor you. It's incredible what I have had to do to heal that part of my life. So fathers, you have a huge influence on your children, especially your baby girls, man. You have a huge influence on how you show up to them and teach them how precious they are, how important they are, how lovable they are, how powerful they are. And I challenge you to rise to the occasion to that. I really do. Metamorphic, literally metamorphic, going through this with my father, realizing how wrong he was and how not a good father he was. And although he tried to be this big traditional stand-up Lebanese guy in the community and blah, 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 he wasn't there for his children. I used to stay at home by myself all night long. When my parents split up at 8, 9 years old, I was alone at home all the time. You know, there was nobody there. My father would come home, or he'd roll in the house at 3 o'clock in the morning because he was busy with the boys, or 1 or 2 and whatever. And then eventually I got rebellious, and then all hell broke loose because I'm a born rebel, like literally a born rebel. And when that got ignited, it wasn't pretty for anybody, you know. And I spent 8 years rocking and rolling and going completely off the edge. And, you know, my father watched the whole thing. You know, when I got sober, he said I wasn't an alcoholic because it embarrassed him, even though he watched it for 8 years. There's a lot around that. There's a lot of pain around these types of things for me. And many women that I have helped and worked with, clients, people, women I know, friends, who've rolled through my life who have said the same thing, you know, how important it was and how much it influenced us to not have that impact in our life from somebody we needed so much to tell us we're precious and loved and important and valuable and not to be thrown around. I spent many of a day, like many days doing things, letting things happen to me because I had no self-esteem and I had no value for myself as a woman because I was so disrupted inside from what my father taught me and didn't teach me about who I was. And he watched me without batting an eye self-destruct. So my father was that type of person. Anything you said, he said kind of the opposite if it embarrassed him and it hurt his pride. He didn't care how it influenced other people. All he wanted was his own pride to live, and he wanted his own show to be like his life show to be perfect. And it was crazy. It's crazy. So obviously I went through a ton of transformation and healing around that to the point today when, you know, although it hurts to think of my father sometimes, I love him and I see the good. And I was there and I helped him cross over. I was there for him. I let him choose his own destiny. I've given him back his, you know, the gifts I didn't want that he gave me, you know. I adore him. Take the good. And I also understand he was suffering too. And so if you're a daughter and you're listening to this and you and your dad are estranged and, you know, you don't have one, or you have one who's not there and they have a lot of pain around that, I'm sending you all my love. I'm sending you all my love. And I'm supporting you and healing your heart as a woman and knowing and making yourself really important and valuable and giving yourself everything that you need. And maybe letting some other people in your life and other men in your life that may be really good friends, you know what I mean, that could take the place of that which you missed growing up. But don't let one person influence you and your confidence. Don't let one person neglect who you're meant to be because you need them to say something positive and they haven't. You needed them to encourage you and make you feel amazing and they didn't. Don't. It's not worth it. When I look back at my father today and I think of my experience, I think it'll always be a pain. And, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, maybe one day I won't feel this way anymore, but I think it'll always be a pain in my heart that I didn't have my father's love the way I really needed it. But I think that's just a little girl that's still being healed. That part of me is still healing, and I could see myself with a different eye of compassion, which brings that sadness forward, And I go, wow, that was really my life. Like, that's what I lived. But the responsibility to repair my heart and to seek for the healing and the positive, that's up to me. That was never up to my father. My father gave me what he could, and it wasn't very much. As a young woman, he didn't know how. And he didn't know how till... He never knew how, I'll be honest. He never knew how. I just learned how to make boundaries with him and have good talks with him. And, as I got older and transformed my life, I never hid how I really felt. And, in my healing journey and I just started talking about the truth, and I didn't care whether he liked it or not. I just started talking about the truth because that's what I needed to do, and that's who I am. And I spent my entire life not doing that. And he had choices to be in my life or to not be in my life. And, I ended up having some really good talks with him and understood from those talks that my father was in pain too. And that I didn't know that. But till his dying day, he just really had a hard time, saying anybody might have been right. Or that he was, wasn't there. It was very hard for him. He did tell me, though, maybe a few years before he passed away, that he was proud of me because I had built this really beautiful business. And, he just looked at it and he's like, oh, man, you're incorporated. Look what you're doing. And, he never said he was wrong for trying to disencourage me. If disencouraging me is a word. I don't even know, I make up words all the time. He used to, insinuate that I would never get anywhere. And I'm so happy I never listened to him. And he did say, one time, he was proud of me. And I was glad about that. I waited a long time to hear it, and the truth is it probably didn't matter at that point. But it's nice to know he finally did say it, because he didn't really have a choice because it was in his face. You know what I mean? He's looking at me going, how did you build a business being an intuitive clairvoyant? You talk to dead people? What? You channel the masters? Pardon me? Really? You help business owners as a powerful tool and a secret weapon in their life? Really? You help them understand how to avoid problems in their businesses? He's watching this happen in front of him. You're traveling around, you're doing retreats. What's going on? So I was glad about that. And I hope for all of you fathers who are there, I hope you tell your kids what you're proud of, even if you don't believe in it, even if it doesn't make sense to you what they're doing. And daughters who share my story with me, know that I'm really sending you a lot of love today. And because I know Father's Day can hurt. And I want you to know that you're important and that you really matter. And that you need to choose that you matter now. It's your time to choose that you matter now. And don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anyone's opinion stop you. Don't let anything anybody says stop you. Don't let these old boys out in the world right now trying to break down our freedoms stop you. Don't let any experience that may have harmed you stop you. We need to learn to take care of ourselves. We need to learn to defend ourselves. And we need to learn to protect who we are. All of us, men, women, children, people, and to defend each other and watch over each other, knowing that we all matter. And to act like we do. My greatest dream would be that we as a race, as global citizens, decide to make everyone matter. That would be my full heart's desire at this point. Really, it would. It would make me so happy. So Father's Day today. Happy Father's Day to all the men. And happy Father's Day to the women who take care of their children like fathers. Morning coffee, so good. Wishing you just an amazing day today. You'd all deserve it. You really do. And for the great parents and the great fathers in particular, bless you for teaching your children that they matter. I honor you deeply today. I really do. I really do. And to my father, my beautiful dad, high in the sky, watching over me. We've had some really good talks on the other side. My father's done a lot of growing as a medium. One of the blessings is that I get to see that. And he's come to me a few times, and we've done some healing work together. And he's found new wings. And that's interesting because I wasn't sure if he ever would. Sometimes when we cross over on the other side, that's what happens. We get to spread our wings. And we get to grow in the ways that we didn't grow while we were here. So, nice experiences with him. Really nice. Nice to see my dad grow on the other side and celebrate a lot more than he did when he was here. I was happy when he passed away. I saw him so free from all his pain. My father had a lot of pain. The last 10 years of his life was horrific. And I was present as I could be for him, and was able to forgive him so I could be present. And, tough times, really tough times. So I'm happy he's liberated and on the other side. And I'm really happy that we've come to an understanding in our souls with each other, and it's so important, right? It really is important. So what's really cool is, I wanted to let you guys know. So I do have this spiritual mastery course that I was looking for a date, and I couldn't figure out when I wanted to start it. I'm going through the application process now. I'm launching, and I'm not freaking out. I'm not in a rush. I mean, it's going to be an ongoing journey. It's going to be like a mastermind, 6-month mastermind for spiritual people who want to really master their spiritual intuitive life and learn how everything works in synchronicity, and really, really dive deep into the process of the awakening, and being full and whole as a spiritual being, and learning about intuition and all this other cool stuff. And so I'm like sitting with myself the other day, and I'm like, when am I going to launch it? This is really important. When do I want to launch it? And I realize it's my dad's birthday, July 2nd. Or when am I going to start it? Not launch it, because it's already launched, really. We're working in the application process. And I'm like, when am I going to start it? What'll be day one where my first set of intro happens for this new transition in my life, and this new change, and bringing all my years of experience, like 30 plus years of experience around ascension, mastery, and building a spiritual life, and understanding how this whole thing works, and how your chakras work, and your aura, and how to see things, and work with your gifts, and open up your inner self and become a empowered being. And I'm like, I'm gonna start it on my dad's birthday, because my dad was the greatest non-believer of what my work is in the world, and I believe that this spiritual work that we're all doing as spiritual people, us mystics, misfit mystics like myself, need to be doing. We need to share about wholeness and the power at this level. And not everybody's a spiritual being, because we all have a soul, in my opinion. It's an opinion. It's a reality for me. I don't care if somebody's spiritual or not. I don't care if they believe. I don't care if somebody's an atheist. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what a person believes. We're all built differently. What matters to me, though, is that I express my gift at the highest level that I can, and that I help people find their gifts and what they're meant to do, and what their soul is here to do with them, by teaching them what I've learned and what I've studied and what I've mastered. That's what matters. That we share with each other our mastery, and we help each other elevate and rise. We show each other the stairs to the next level of brilliance, of joy. And so I decided I would start it on July 2nd in honor of my father, and in honor of our healing, and a little bit of, hey, Dad, fuck you, look at me now. I'm so happy I never listened to you. which I know today he would appreciate because, my dad knows who I was in many, many ways. And we had those conversations when he was here, and I told him that right to his face. I remember telling him, Dad, this is what I want to tell you about if I would have listened to you. Fuck you. And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, I guess it's a good thing that you didn't. That time where he said, and he gave me that little bit of praise. I had my moment of rebellion in your face, Dad. But, that's not why I'm doing it. The reason I'm doing it is to honor that. I didn't listen to someone else's tradition that was not going to work for who I'm meant to be in this world. And that's the reason. And I'm honoring all the women that are trying to rise and stand up now. So that we can unitedly say, no, we have power. We are allowed to be in this existence. We're here and we're not leaving. And without us, you wouldn't be here. So let's find some honor and integrity. Let's rise together. Let's support the men to become great men that aren't threatened by women and that can just honor everyone and make everyone matter. We have to be the example, That's why I'm building this course. That's why I'm doing it on my dad's birthday, To say what matters is this gift that I have to share with other people, and your gifts matter too. And you matter too. We all do. And the cool thing with my dad, and knowing and understanding that he suffered as well, I learned that because I took time to ask him questions about his life, because my father didn't know how to communicate at all. And I asked him, I started asking him questions, especially when I got sober and I started, I was young and I was like, oh my God, I want to learn about these things. I started learning about family paradigms and all this cool stuff. And I'm like, wow, my father must have really suffered too, for him to be this way, because inherently my dad was a good person. He was a really caring man. There's people he helped that, and he helped me too in different ways, just emotionally wasn't able, and his chauvinistic attitude wasn't able to see me until much, much, much later in life, and lots of adversity and fighting and challenges. Like, we fought all the time, and we fought because I refused to listen to him. And I told him, you're wrong about who I am all the time. And that's tough on the heart. It's tough on the heart to want your father's love so deeply and have to tell him all the time that he's wrong about what he's telling you about who you are. And the only thing that he ever has to say is something negative, which was my life. That's how it was, But it sure is great to know that I've moved past that and was able to tell him these things. And we found some type of peace with each other. You know what I mean? So this is for him and for our healing. And I'm hoping that it supports the energy of men and women healing and fathers and daughters healing. And I'm launching it on his birthday to say we all matter. No matter what, we all matter. Everyone does. So I hope you like this show. I really do. I hope that fathers, you have an amazing Father's Day today. I honor you. I hope you rise into even more than what you already are, so that you instill love and kindness and compassion and greatness into your own children. And I hope they have a reason to tell you how amazing you are today, that they don't have to make one up, because you are an outstanding man. And kids who are celebrating your fathers, make sure you love them up, because it really matters to them, even if they don't tell you. When I told my dad I loved him, I knew that it mattered. I could see it in his eyes, even though he never said so. Or maybe he did once in a while, but often, and more than not, he didn't. It was hard for him to acknowledge that he needed love. But I knew it mattered when I told him. So don't forget to tell them. Tell your fathers and your grandfathers and your husbands and your boyfriends, if they have children, that they matter today. So that's been our show. Wanted to do a little me and you chat. Wishing you an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Until the next time. I'll see you next week. Bye for now. From Misfit to Mystic, signing out.